Thanks so much. My name is Henry. I'm honored to be here opening the night. Or I guess it's morning, isn't it? This is a tune that I wrote. It's called Tell Me Something. I hope you like it. Why don't you just tell me something, baby? Oh, I've been hearing nothing from you lately. Tell me, do you love me or do you hate me? Oh, I don't really understand. Whisper something gently in my ear. Tell me that you're still here. Tell me something good or bad, I don't mind. Just tell me that you are still mine. Well, the seasons change and the nights grow long, but I'm gonna love you till I'm gray and gone. You're still mine, honey, you're still mine. So why don't you just meet me in the middle and stop trying to play me like a fiddle? I'm gonna love you now until the end of time. I'll tell you that you are still mine. Well, the seasons change and the nights grow long, but I'm gonna love you till I'm gray and gone. You're still mine, honey, you're still mine. So why don't you just tell me something, baby? Oh, I've been hearing nothing from you lately. Tell me, do you love me, do you hate me? Oh, I don't really understand. Tell me, do you still love me? Why don't you just tell me something? Thanks so much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much. I'm going to play one more quick song for you. Once again, my name is Henry. Thank you all so much for listening, and thank you for being here. Sometimes I get the strangest feeling, like I just don't quite exist. And is my whole world just a fiction? On this life I think I live. Well, I say, what are my thoughts and what are my actions? Standing here, am I gaining traction in a world of hate fueled by distraction? What am I gonna do? And who am I gonna be? Sometimes I get the strangest feeling, like you're not in love with me. Or are we just going through the motions of what we think true love could be? Well, I know I love my baby, and I know I love you too. What am I gonna tell my baby? What in the world am I gonna do? Well, I say, what are my thoughts and what are my actions? Standing here, am I gaining traction in a world of hate fueled by distraction? What am I gonna do? And who am I gonna be? What are my thoughts and what are my actions? Standing here, am I gaining traction in a world of hate fueled by distractions? What am I gonna do? And who am I gonna be? I say, stick to your roots and stand your ground. Find your morals and don't back down. Be the change you wanna see. Why not you and me? And who are we gonna be? And what are we gonna say about the crazy things we see? Thank you so much. One more? I'm going to do one more song. Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. This is a tune I wrote. It's kind of about climate change. I hope you like it. The songbird has lost her voice. It's hard to sing when there's no choice. The raven has lost his wings. Man, he wished he learned to sing. The business is moved to town. They're cutting all the oak trees down. There's nothing left to say, except should we flee or should we stay? They say the grass is greener on the other side of the ocean. Tell my kids and family there's a safe place to go. We could leave tomorrow, we can find a new home. But the truth is, I don't know. Flowers have bloomed too soon. They shouldn't come until next June. For fear of another frost, shall we mourn what we lost? The mountains have crumbled down with echoes of the bombs around. The forest has lost her green, and now there's nothing left to see. Say the soil's fertile on the other side of the river. And tell the farmer's daughter we could start again. Maybe plant some new crops we could last through the winter. But I fear our time is at an end. The songbird has lost her voice. It's hard to sing when there's no choice. The raven has lost his wings. Man, he wished he learned to sing. Oh man, he wished he learned to sing. Thank you all so much for listening. My name has been Henry Furlan. Have a great morning.
Thank you, Henry, for opening our event today. We will be sharing Henry's details in the follow-up email, and if you're in the Hudson Valley a lot, look him up because he's playing on all the stages up there. Can we give him one more round of applause? Good creative morning, everyone. I'm Tina Roth-Eisenberg. I'm the founder of Creative Mornings and your New York City chapter host. And I'm welcoming you today from the ancestral land of the Lenape people. And we here at Creative Mornings HQ recognize the significance of Brooklyn and New York City for Lenape people, past and present. And I want to say a big, big warm welcome to Autumn Thomas, who generously offered to sign our event today. We appreciate you so much. And what an absolute joy to be back at L'Alliance. This is like the Porsche of venues for us. I sleep so well when I know we're going to be hosted here. For those of you not familiar with this venue, L'Alliance is a highly respected educational, cultural, and arts institution where you can immerse yourself in French language classes and world-class cultural programming. For example, they just announced their exciting lineup for the winter programming. Some highlights include 2 HD screenings with the legendary French theater La Comédie Française, and a stage reading of Corneille's De l'Illusion, starring André de Shields, following by a Q&A with the cast and the creative team, which is very cool. So we will link to the events, and in the follow-up email, go check out their calendar of events. L'Alliance, we love you so much. Thank you. So every month we invite an audience member, a community member, to read the manifesto, to remind us why we do what we do here at Creative Mornings. And the person I'm inviting on stage today to read the manifesto is a very familiar face around here. It's Exa Cutler, our head of community. Today's Exa's last day. After 6.5 years, I'm going to start crying. Oof, I wasn't prepared for that. I'm sorry. She's been with us for 6.5 years. And I don't think there's many people who have influenced Creative Mornings as much as she has, and I can't even talk. During the pandemic, she was instrumental in taking our events online and making them really warm and beautiful. This was a really funny moment. This is when we all just got started on Zoom. And she was practicing putting people in breakout rooms. And we didn't have enough people, so we just set up our stuffed animals, and we even named them. And then Exa designed and hosted our legendary New Yorkers creative events for the last 5 years. She's a master event designer. But most of all, Exa's talent for holding space is absolutely unmatched, be it IRL or in a digital space. For example, this February, we really experimented when we had our first ever town hall where we collectively talked about AI, which was not an easy thing to pull off, but Exa really emceed the event masterfully. So, Exa, we'll miss you so deeply. I'm gonna start crying again. And I can't even say the rest. So please do us the honor and read the manifesto.
Thanks, everybody. All right. Everyone is creative. A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate you, and encourage you to make the things you love. We believe in the power of community We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face and online connections, in learning from others, in hugs and high fives. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world. Everyone is welcome.
Are you glad we welcomed you with coffee when you arrived? I know. Our local chapter partners are to thank for the breakfast spread, and so let's send some gratitude their way. Yeah. A big thank you to Harvest, our longstanding partner. They actually started supporting us 16 years ago in 2009. So if you think about time in your day-to-day, if you need a simple and beautiful way to track your time, manage your time and expenses and invoices, check out getharvest.com. It's an excellent tool for independent creatives and small businesses. Thank you, Harvest. And then a big thank you to our beloved longstanding partner, MPB. They make it super easy and worthwhile to give your unused camera gear a new life. If you have a used camera sitting around in a drawer or a lens or a video camera, you can set them free on mpb.com. It's super easy. Or the other way around, adopt some gently used gear and level up your documentation game in a way that's good for the planet. We here at HQ love MPB and the humans behind it. They're good people with big hearts. Thank you, MPB. Recently, my friend Jay Punjabi, who I believe is here with us today, explained Creative Mornings to a group of his friends. He said, "Creative Mornings gatherings taught me to be love rather than seek love." Cue rolling panda feelings. I sometimes struggle trying to explain what Creative Mornings is, and I usually say, when you come to our events, we try to wrap you in a blanket of love so your nervous system can relax. Creative Mornings practices rituals and optimism and kindness, and we do that all over the world. Every dot on this map represents a chapter run by kind, loving volunteers modeling that generosity, kindness, and optimism are not naive, but tools for transformation. Creative Mornings started here in New York 17 years ago, but has since grown into an undeniably powerful web of friendship and love. Because of our volunteers, 20,000 creatives get together every month in over 70 countries for free. And what you experience here today is a community-led labor of love, celebrating human connection and creativity. And I am so proud to say that Adobe recognizes the impact this community is having on the creative ecosystem, and it's an honor to be supported by Adobe, the most powerful brand in the creative industry. As our global partner, they are fully embedded at every event around the world. And all throughout the year, we work closely with Adobe's team to bring you helpful content and programming. For example, our Adobe Level Up field trips are a huge success with an average of over 800 signups per field trip, which really blows our mind. They help you grow in your career, so go check them out if you haven't yet. We love you, Adobe. That was funny. Did you see what just popped up on my screen? That was an error message from Adobe that just popped up. It's almost humorous. By the way, there are a lot of really fun rolling panda GIFs on Giphy. Here's another one just for funsies. As a Swiss, I really love this one. And it just keeps going. Anyway, so let's play a game. It's one of my favorite games. It's called Stand Up If. It's very easy. I'm going to project some statements to the screen. If they apply to you, please stand up. If you can't stand up, just raise your hand. Shall we? All right. Stand up if you're proud of yourself for getting up early and socialize at 8:30 on a Friday. I'm proud of you too. Stand up if you're visiting from another city. Where are you from? Oh, wow. Can anyone beat that in terms of distance? New Zealand. Wow. Stand up if you've made a friend at a Creative Mornings event. Oh, this is where my heart explodes, because we only measure one thing at Creative Mornings. It's ROF, return on friendship. So, well done. All right, now, but this, I'm leveling it up now. Are you ready for this? Stand up if you have found love at one of our events. Oh my God, yes! Ah! This morning I said to Tim, what if nobody stands up? And he says, I don't give up. But no, look. Stand up if you consider yourself a generous person. Wow, you stood up really quickly there. Wow, so many of you. I'm not surprised. Stand up if you're a good friend, or keep standing. I have a feeling those are connected. Wow, okay. Stand up if you have received such generosity it took your breath away. Oh my God. That's a moment, okay. Stand up if there is something you are looking forward to. Stand up if you believe design matters. You're all just standing. Debbie, I hope you see that. Which segues, we're done. Yes, design does matter, and it has mattered for over 20 years. Which brings us to the main attraction of today's event, the conversation between Ruth Ann Harnisch and Debbie Millman. So let me introduce you to these two fine women. First up, Debbie. Debbie is a dear friend and a well-known and respected force of nature in our creative industry. As a designer, educator, author, artist, and host of the acclaimed podcast Design Matters, Debbie has spent decades shaping the way we think about design, creativity, and business. With her unique perspective, Debbie has become a voice that encourages us to think deeply about the work we do and the impact we want to leave behind. She started Design Matters 20 years ago, before the word podcast even existed. And I don't believe there is anyone who has mastered the art of interviewing the way Debbie has. But beyond her incredible accomplishments, what makes Debbie truly special is her unmatched generosity, dedication to vulnerability, authenticity, and the courage to embrace creativity no matter where it leads. Debbie, thank you for making today happen. This is, I believe, the 5th time we are closing out the year together. You are a true gift to our community. And then Ruth Ann Harnisch. You know that stand up if prompt I used earlier, stand up if you have received such generosity, it took your breath away? I asked that because it happened to me twice. And the giver was none other than today's Design Matters guest, Ruth Ann Harnisch. But before I tell that story, I want to share a little bit about her. Ruth Ann is a pioneering journalist turned philanthropist, activist, and coach. She spent decades breaking barriers in broadcasting, later founding the Harnisch Foundation, which has invested millions in gender equity, inclusive storytelling, leadership, and creativity. Ruth Ann champions voices that need to be heard, ideas that need to be nurtured, and people who are doing the work they were born to do. Her life is a living commitment to generosity, courage, and possibility. So that moment she took my breath away, it happened in May of 2023, when she decided, without us ever asking, to donate $1 million to Creative Mornings. And with that, she became our first ever patron, a milestone we never saw coming, and one that changed Creative Mornings in profound ways. During that pivotal meeting, Ruth Ann looked at me and said, Creative Mornings is a gift to this world, and I want to help make it exist. Since then, I've had the pleasure of getting to know Ruth Ann and her husband, Bill, taking elevator selfies, sharing stories, and developing an unexpectedly delightful friendship. Because here's what you learn when you spend time with Ruth Ann. She opens doors. Not quietly, not cautiously, but with enthusiasm, with conviction, and with so much love for the person or organization she's supporting. When Ruth Ann is in your corner, you feel it in your bones. Because of her generosity, we've been able to build out the Clubs program, a way for all of you to grow your own hyper-local communities doing something you love. When Ruth Ann became our patron, Clubs didn't even exist yet. But watching us build Clubs grow into multiple cities with thousands of signups and the friendships this new program has been making possible, she doubled down a few weeks ago and committed another $2 million. Ruth Ann, you keep taking my breath away with your radical generosity. On behalf of every attendee, every chapter, every organizer, every speaker, and every person who has ever felt a sense of belonging in this community, thank you. So please join me in giving an enormous, love-filled Creative Mornings welcome to our friend, our first patron, and someone who deeply believes in the goodness of this community, Ruth Ann Harnisch.
Oh, Tina, thank you for inviting me to join you today, and thank you for having us here for this very special live episode of Design Matters. Thank you, everyone here at Creative Mornings, for joining us, and welcome, Ruth Ann Harnisch.
What a delight to be here.
I am profoundly honored. Ruth Ann,
Debbie.
I'd like to begin by going back to your beginnings in Buffalo. Is it true that when you were 15 years old, you worked as a DJ at the local radio station under the name Karen Kelly?
Karen with an I, K-A-R-I-N, Karen Kelly.
Karen Kelly.
And I have long said that if anybody can find a photograph of me riding in a parade with WYSL's Karen Kelly welcomes the Blue Max, I was in a parade and photographed that way, but I have never been able to get a hold of the. I'll pay a reward for that.
Okay, well, the gauntlet has been thrown. You know how much I love research. I will look for
Find
you.
evidence of Karen Kelly.
Well, I did in writing, but not quite in photography. So, as I said, the gauntlet has been thrown. Now, why the name Karen Kelly?
It wasn't Ruthie Geisdorfer. And eventually, I was part of a teen DJ group. The old broadcaster, Gordon McLendon, wanted free help. So he let teenagers spin the records on his FM. He had a popular AM station in Buffalo. And so we worked as disc jockeys for free, enjoying playing the hits for the boys and girls with the names we chose for ourselves. And I chose that one because ethnically it was popular in Buffalo. There were a lot of Irish people. And it felt original and fun to me at that time.
Have you ever used it again?
Never.
Now, your job as a DJ wasn't actually your first job in media. I believe the first job you applied for was at the Buffalo Courier Express. And they wouldn't hire you as a paper girl, so instead you were hired as the youngest girl in the newspaper office. What were you hired to do?
We were hired to bill the root boys that we could not be. We would send them their bills every week, how many papers they sold, how much money they owed, and had to make the numbers work every week. So that's what I did. And women were not allowed to smoke on the main floor because there were ceiling-to-floor windows, and the public should never see a woman smoking. So our ladies' room was extremely crowded and hard to breathe in.
It sounds like my junior high school bathroom.
Yeah, in more ways than one.
Exactly. So you became the youngest of a crew of girls, most of whom were adult women.
Yes.
Who did the accounting for the paper boys instead of becoming a paper girl.
Mm-hmm. They didn't have them.
Right. And then, when your shift was over, That's when you jumped on the Niagara Frontier Transit bus and went to the Statler Hilton Hotel. And that is where you became Karen Kelly.
Yes, it is.
Teen DJ on WYSL FM 103.3.
Where life begins at 103.
The voice, the voice. You were 15 years old.
Yeah.
That's incredible to have 2 jobs in media at 15. Now, in addition to all of that, you described yourself as a stubborn, angry girl who grew up in a world that was clearly not fair.
I knew that the minute I saw my younger brother allowed to do things I was not allowed to do, go places I was not allowed to go, dress ways I was not allowed to dress, say things I was not allowed to say. It just looked totally unfair from jump.
Yeah, I remember. So I'm a child of the 60s. I was born in 1961, and when I was about 5 or so, my brother was turning 3, and we were having a birthday party for him, and I wanted to wear pants. I wanted to wear pants to his birthday party, and my mother was horrified and would not let me wear pants, and I was despondent. I went outside to play, and somehow, I guess I was very emotional. I tripped on the sidewalk and fell on my face. My grandfather, who was watching me from the window in our house in Howard Beach, Queens, saw that I fell, ran down, came to get me, and to comfort me, they let me wear pants.
I guess you showed them.
One of the most powerful stories from your early life that I discovered is about Buffalo, New York Public School 72 Assistant Principal Dorothy Wolf, who chose you to join a group of children who studied French, memorized poems, and performed in musicals. You were also given elocution lessons, as she believed you all stood a better chance of success outside if you could speak beautifully.
Yes.
How pronounced was your accent?
Well, if you grew up in Buffalo, it sounds like that. You get in the car and you go places. And among our speech exercises, I had to laugh to see the calf run down the path and take a bath in a minute and a half. Which became, I had to laugh to see the calf run down the path and take a bath in a minute and a half.
Wow. That deserves a round of applause. You've gone on to say this about that experience with Mrs. Wolf. Every bit of success I have can be traced to my ability to use my voice as an instrument, capable of almost any accent, including none, to speak loudly enough to be heard without a microphone in rooms where no microphone is available, to speak in front of other people in small and large settings without as much fear as most people have. Ruth Ann, how was Mrs. Wolf able to teach you all that?
She was mean.
That was not what I was expecting.
She was incredibly strict. Her standards were incredibly high, and you were going to meet them.
Now, I suspect that you like that.
No, you would be wrong. I like it when it's easy and nice and kind and pleasant. That's what I like.
I had a teacher named Mrs. Langhauser who was strict. And I was glad that she was strict because she held us to standards that I didn't know if I would be able to maintain otherwise. And I suspect that you didn't need that.
I had a tough enough go at home. My parents had very strict standards as well. So I was terrified not to be a straight A student. terrified not to be getting extra credit. I got grounded once because I got a 94 in Latin. And I had to work the entire marking period, I think it's 6 weeks, to raise that grade. And when it came up to a 98, they said, see, we knew you could do better.
Oh.
So that was my academic career. I could not wait to drop out of school, which I did.
I know, and
I am
actually,
a proud college dropout.
I couldn't find where you went to college.
Syracuse University,
Oh, okay.
where I should have been able to major in broadcasting,
Right.
but you couldn't major in broadcasting till your junior year, and I didn't stick around that long.
Well, you didn't need
I had
to.
more experience live on the radio than the guy who was teaching me Radio 101.
Right. Speaking of radios, I read that after you got your first little portable transistor radio, which I also had, by the way, it became so magical to you that you hid it under your pillow at night to listen for as long as you could. And my favorite quote of yours from this story is, I fell in love with the idea of voices and pictures flying through the air.
Yeah, it's magic.
It was magic.
And I grew up during great radio times. WKBW was a powerhouse up and down the eastern seaboard, and you could hear it all over the country. And it pioneered a lot of music styles and disc jockeying and payola and all those things that were radio at the time.
You also read your local newspapers and, quote, could find out the most amazing things that happened all over the world, unquote. And at that point in society, as well as being told what to wear and what not to smoke and so forth, girls were expected to become wives and mothers, but you wanted to do something with the magic of pictures and words, or something printed and delivered to somebody's house. Were you conflicted at all about the direction your life could take? Did you feel like you were being rebellious or needed permission to do what you really wanted to do?
Nobody was giving women permission to do what they wanted to do. And I was often the first through the barrier, whatever it was. And it says, whoever goes through first gets hurt the most.
Yeah.
And makes it easier for everybody who comes after. So I hope I made it easier for some of the people who came after, but it hurt the most to go through the first.
How supportive were your parents at this point in your life?
Not.
I want, if you can, to share with the audience how your talent and ambition moved you into a place where you could apply for a job working as a high school correspondent. I believe you left a sleepover party to race to the interview and aced it.
What happened was, I lied to my mother about what I was doing that night. I was at my friend's sister's apartment with my friend, and the sister had given us permission to raid the liquor cabinet.
I read that it was adult drinks.
And I think I was 15, and we were definitely drunk. And my mother called saying, they called from the radio station. They want to interview you right now. And I said, well, give them the number. And I aced my interview on the phone drunk. And I always felt that qualified me for a career in broadcasting.
Absolutely. Now, you then became a teen correspondent and recorded the news of the day at South Park High School.
That's the truth.
A real high
South
school.
Park High School.
Now, what kinds of stories did you cover?
Oh, whatever the clubs were doing, you know, just like here, you tell what the clubs are doing.
And
whatever pep rally or whatever football or baseball or whatever game was going on.
you also got your first radio call-in show at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about that. Tell us about the kinds of people that were calling in and the kinds of questions you were being asked and the kinds of answers you were
I
offering.
have zero recollection of 1965.
That's the year I fell on the floor
aforementioned
of my
drunk.
sidewalk. Well, you went to Syracuse, you changed your mind, you left, and your next few jobs were as secretaries. You had a couple of jobs back to back, but at WSB TV in Atlanta, you became a volunteer producer of television programming in addition to your secretarial work. But they didn't want to pay you to do that work. You wanted to do it, and you volunteered, and they let you.
Yes.
They let you.
They allowed me to work for
free.
free producing a program.
And so what kind of programming were you doing at that point?
It was a quiz show for young people.
And you then moved to Nashville, Tennessee,
I did.
where you auditioned and got hired for the first time as an on-air consumer reporter producing your own shows.
Yes.
You were 23.
Yes.
And I believe that affirmative action had something to do with your ability to do this at that time.
Yeah,
Is that
they
correct?
had to hire somebody to represent the female portion of the population. And it was only going to be one, of course. You only need one. It would have been better if I was black, but they already had their black man. So Bill Perkins was already there holding down the we have to hire a black person spot. And then I was hired to hold down the we have a woman spot.
How were you treated at that time by your colleagues?
Dismissively. Mary Tyler Moore show was on at the time, and Betty White played a character called Sue Ann Nivens, the happy homemaker, and they called me Sue Ann Nivens, the happy homemaker.
Too bad.
You
they
know,
didn't-
Ruth Ann Leach, which was what my name was at the time. Ruth Ann Leach, dollars and cents, Sue Ann Nivens, the happy homemaker.
And what I find interesting about that specific show was how pivotal the idea of thinking about and talking about money was to you even then. And I want to talk about that in a little bit. But I was really struck when I saw that the show was called Dollars and Cents with the S with the line through it.
Yes.
That was something that you were thinking about even then.
Well, it was the girl department of news.
But
You manage the home. You save the money. You clip the coupons. You find a way to inflate your tires so that your tire tread doesn't wear down faster. All the things.
but you were teaching people.
Yes.
And that has become really important over the course of your life. And I thought that sort of defining moment there was really significant in terms of providing this foundation and this introduction to how you were seeing the world.
I'd have done anything. If they had assigned me to do another beat, I'd have done it. And I did. I did the medical beat. I did the health beat. I did the movie review beat. I had so many different beats through the years. So it's whatever they tell you to do, that's the assignment. That's what I did. I didn't get to choose.
You became the token female reporter. And the reporter after you was, I think, what was referred to at that time as two birds with one stone.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a woman of color.
Mm-hmm.
Who
She was Miss Fire Prevention.
Yeah, and who was that?
Her name was messed up on her birth certificate. Do you know the biblical story of Ruth and her sister in Orpah, O-R-P-A-H, and Oprah is how it came out. So that's who showed up in our newsroom, Miss Fire Prevention, from, I believe it was WVOD radio, where she had a little gig, and there she was.
So she was your cubicle mate, I believe.
She was behind me in the cubicle.
Okay.
We had back-to-back cubicles.
Your first on-air camera job paid so little that you qualified for food stamps.
True.
When you told this to your boss, he gave you a raise that put you $1
$1.
over the threshold for public assistance. And I was wondering when I read that, did that actually make it tougher for you, actually forfeiting the food stamps for the $1 extra?
Well, I wouldn't have applied for them. That would not have been something I would have done. But I just wanted him to know this is the level I'm being paid. And he wanted me to know, no, you're not.
Oh, how generous
yes.
of him. I had just asked you, I talked to you about your frustration at growing up in a world when you were little, where there was so much inequity and unfairness. Did you have a sense of how unfair it was that you were entitled to so little?
Yeah, I think we all did. There's a play on Broadway right now called Liberation that I'm not going to see.
You're not?
No, because everything I read about it is that was my trauma years.
Oh.
Why would I want to go and remember how awful it was to be a woman at that time, trying not to get grabbed? I mean, Me Too came from somewhere, and it was then.
Yeah.
That you were a piece of meat at the office, truly.
Yeah.
You did not...
I read that when you were like 15 or 16, that one of your bosses was chasing you around the sofa.
Literally chased me around the sofa to try and tackle me to the sofa. It's a cliche because it was so true.
Yeah, I had similar experiences at my very first job 2 different times. The first time I got hired as a designer, I thought it was because of the value, the quality of my portfolio. And at lunchtime, the creative director that had hired me in the morning came sort of sauntering up to my desk and was like, "Want to go for lunch?" And I was crestfallen, and I thought, oh, it wasn't because of my portfolio. I only ended up getting out of it because I made up an excuse that the editor needed me to do something. He came up to me the next day, "Want to go to lunch?" Did the same thing. And then the third day, he hired another girl and went up sauntering to her, and she went with him, so he stopped bothering me. But I've always wondered about what it was like for her. The second time somebody did that in my then first job, I was so scared, because he was actually much more aggressive. I was so scared to tell anybody because I thought, A, I wouldn't be believed, and B, because I was causing trouble, I might lose my job. And that's how serious it was at that time to stand up for yourself. At that point in your career, you had 3 full-time jobs, and slept about 3 hours a night. What was driving you at that time?
The insecurity of the kind of work that I did. Every 2 minutes, it seemed, the owners were selling to somebody new and slashing all the jobs and just stripping it for parts, so to speak. And it felt like that in every place I worked. Newspapers were going out of business, and radio stations were consolidating and changing formats, and there was absolutely no security in the work I was doing. So when somebody offered me a new job, I just didn't quit the other one. I just kept adding jobs, and it was okay with them because it was always cross-promotion. I've got the anchor woman hosting my radio show. I got the radio host writing the newspaper column.
So your on-air reporting for WTVF-TV in Nashville resulted in your first Emmy nomination. Over the course of your 15 years with the station, you went on to become the first female anchor on WTVF-TV. You hosted 2 radio shows on 2 different radio stations at the same time, and wrote an op-ed column 6 days a week for the Nashville Banner for 17 years. That's a lot of glass ceilings, Ruth Ann Harnisch.
Yeah, it was.
Brava. What did it mean and cost to become the first woman to anchor the CBS affiliate?
It's how can I quantify that? It's every day, one day at a time. Every day a new challenge.
After 17 years at the Nashville Banner in 1998, the newspaper ceased publication. And you said this about that experience. The day I learned I was disemployed, good word, I had planned to go to an at-home dinner with other members of the Women's Forum gathering that included talking and networking. And you go on to say that when it was your turn to introduce yourself, you confessed that as of that day, you were nobody and that you had no idea what was next. That moment really did change your life. Can you share with the audience what happened next?
One of the other people at the dinner, whose name is Ruth Cowan, said, "Well, now, of course, you will become a philanthropist."
What gave her the sense that that was your destiny?
Because that was what seemed obvious to her, that I had married someone of means, that he had made it possible for me to have money to spare, and that now my job would be being a steward of that money and becoming an activist philanthropist.
You said at the time, I believe, yes, now I must become a philanthropist.
Well, that seemed logical.
That's all it took.
Yes.
What motivated you to do that? What gave you the sense that, yes, this is it?
When it resonates, it resonates. When it's true, it's true. It doesn't take me forever to recognize when something is true for me.
The Harnisch Foundation was founded in 1998. You've said your resources are intentionally invested in people and organizations working to break barriers that keep people from living with equality, freedom, dignity, and opportunity.
Yeah.
How, just, that's all. Like, no biggie.
Isn't that what anybody would do if they, I mean, really, I like to think that if anybody locked up on this kind of opportunity, that's what they'd want to do too.
Ruth Ann Harnisch, there's about 15 people I can just list off the top of my head that have quite a lot of means and do not do that. I think that, wasn't it Joyce Carol Oates that just pointed that out about somebody that is maybe the richest person in the world? When you first started, your grant-making budget was tiny, and you wrote all the checks by hand.
I want to return to the people with the big money there. That
Oh,
aren't
yeah, absolutely.
Somebody said you can tell what God thinks of money by who he gave it to.
Oh, wow. There's a T-shirt.
And, you know, it's just another form of energy to be exchanged.
Yeah.
More money or less money makes you more or less of who you are at core. You don't become a different person. You become more of who you are when you have abundance.
I want to return to that in a moment, and I usually, in an interview, don't pause on a topic that I want to explore if my guest brings it up. I usually like to go with the flow. But I think it's really important to share some of what you've done before we go into the psychology and the anthropology of money. So your first grants went to nonprofits addressing social justice issues in Tennessee. In the years since, you've been named by Inside Philanthropy as one of the most powerful women in philanthropy. You're a founding funder of the TED Fellows Program, the Center for Sustainable Journalism, the Institute of Coaching at Harvard Medical School's McLean Hospital. You founded programs including Awesome Without Borders, Funny Girls. You've supported the Sundance Women Filmmakers Initiative Fellows. You've gone on to produce over 60 films and theatrical productions. You have helped create a sense of abundance within Creative Mornings. You've been nominated for an Oscar, an Emmy, a Tony, a Grammy. Congratulations, Ruth Ann Harnisch.
It's really fun to be doing new things at 75.
Yes,
You
it
know,
is.
I am retiring. I have announced I'm retiring, and what that means is I'm not spending 7 days a week, 10 hours a day in front of a computer looking at random asks and proposals. I am narrowing my focus, and I will be doing more of what I've done here at Creative Mornings, give a more significant gift for a more significant result. I've been really proud to do a lot of little gift. The donor activist Tracy Gary says there are 4 kinds of gifts. The first one is the social fun, where you take a table at a big party and your friends and you go out and dress up and you have a big time, and incidentally, there's a charity involved. The second is the honored obligation. Your dad had a heart attack, you're going to raise money for the Heart Association. I feel your kid's school is having a PTA fund, you're going to do that because it's an obligation that you will honor. The third one is actually trying to solve some problems that are out there, coming up with solutions and funding the solutions. And the fourth one is the one that Tracy says, if you can do it, this is what you should do. Go upstream and find what are the sources of the suffering that you are alleviating, and hit it farther upstream to prevent the problems from happening in the first place. So I follow Tracy's advice to give as much as possible for systemic change, the fourth category of giving. So that's what I'm aiming at this stage of my life. When I did the Awesome Without Borders, that was $1,000 a week. We gave over 600 of those grants at $1,000 a week. And that's a lot of magic. $1,000 can change somebody's perspective on the world, and they did. And all that's still online for people to see. I'm proud of that accomplishment in little bits, and now I'm moving to the bigger gifts.
What's wonderful to look at on the Harnisch Foundation website is the history. There's a timeline, so you can see the impact that the foundation and you have had on hundreds, maybe thousands of
And
people.
here I shout out Jenny Raymond, who is the executive director of the Harnisch Foundation, who runs the Funny Girls program, which after 10 years has just announced an affiliation with Second City.
Oh, that's so exciting.
It is very exciting. We teach leadership skills to young girls and people who identify as gender
As female, yes.
and or non-binary.
Or non, yeah, absolutely.
And they learn leadership skills through improv training and learn to think on their feet and to hear what other people are saying, and the responsive leadership skills that can take them far before young girls lose their confidence, because there's an age at which the confidence of a young girl falls off. And we aim to equip them with skills to retain themselves.
Yes.
So that's Jenny Raymond, who has accomplished all of that.
And she's been with you for 2 decades, right?
Longer. It's a partnership of the heart and of the head and truly of the spirit. I love her. She has made me possible.
Mm. Well, I think you've done that for each other. Now I want to talk about money. Over the course of
The
your
thing
life,
we call money.
the thing we call money, yes. Over the course of your life, you've been so broke, you had to roll pennies to buy something to eat. You've said that you were so financially frightened most of your life. The ability you now have to not lie awake, fearful about money, is probably the biggest life-altering thing that has ever happened to you. As someone who has very similar fears, how were you able to arrive at this point after being so scared and insecure for so long?
You know the dog chasing the car? What happens if you catch the car? Well, I caught the car. And only having abundance did I realize there is no security. There is no safe place. There is no day when it's all wrapped up and you're fine. There is just, how am I right now? How are things right now? Is my cork floating? Can it float a little higher? Is there anything I can do to elevate my thinking in this moment? Because somebody could fly a plane into your building. Because somebody could declare tariffs, no tariffs, tariffs, no tariffs, and you don't know where the money is coming from or going. I corresponded with somebody who said, I have a shipment arriving from France today, and I don't know if I'll be able to afford to accept it. There's no security, there's no safety, there's just, who are you in here? What have you got to sustain yourself in here?
How were you able to cultivate that mentality, that sense of self-reliance and security?
By making a decision, by making a regret-free decision to change and sticking with that. That's keeping my promise to myself, my integrity to keep my own promises and believe me when I tell me something. I don't let me down. I can count on me. And if I have to renegotiate my agreement with myself, I will do so with integrity. I'm not rigid, but that's unassailable.
Once you were freed of your fear, you learned that money and our attitudes toward it, as you said, are made up.
Because money's made up.
So talk a little bit about that. I found that really, really fascinating as I was doing my research, this notion of it being just a construct.
Well, it is. And I used to tell people this all the time, that we made up the idea of money. And if you believe in the money system as we have made it up, you will have feelings and ideas that are attached to those definitions. But if you recognize that through time, where we store value and how we exchange value, it's always been made up. It used to be a big rock. They would roll a rock from one place to another, and then just a certificate or a stone that says, you have a piece of this rock. It became easier to explain when money got made up right in front of everybody's face and they called it crypto. They made it up right in front of you, out of nothing. Here is a thing now that has value because we say so. It's crypto. That's all money is. It's been made up by the people who needed a way to exchange value.
Yeah, at one point, salt was used as currency.
Which is how we got the word salary, because you were paid in salt.
And I believe, I might be wrong about this, but I believe that the word check actually comes from the word rock in some language evolution.
We made it up.
You started out in life struggling.
Can I say something else about the
Please
making up
say
of money?
whatever you want, Ruth Ann Harnisch.
Can we disclose we're in business?
Yes, we just started. Yes.
We just engaged in a business transaction in which I promised a certain amount of money to your business enterprise. And the minute I said yes, what happened to you?
A sense of relief, a sense of excitement, trepidation, wanting to make sure that I'm worthy.
But nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
No money
physically.
changed
No,
hands.
No, none.
But yet you created a story around it.
Yes.
You had emotions about it. You felt things about that money being real, even though all I did was say, yes, I will.
Yes, absolutely.
See the power of just the belief system? Just believing it's possible opens up your imagination to create all kinds of new possibilities.
But there's a difference, I think, in the ways that we construct our ideas about money, in that your investment is a belief in me, which also changes how I think about myself and what I'm capable of. Because I also have experienced so many similar fears over the course of my life about financial insecurity. I remember being in my 20s, feeling like, I when I graduated college, I was so broke, I had to think about every month what I was going to spend whatever money I was making on rent, my student loan, food. And I remember thinking at the time, and this is going to sound a little silly maybe to people, but it was the early 80s. I remember thinking, oh, if I only had $1,000 in the bank, I would feel so safe. I would feel so secure. And then when I scrimped and saved over the years and I had $1,000 in the bank, I was like, well, maybe if it was 2,000, I would feel better. And then when I scrimped and saved and then I got a really good project. I got a freelance project that paid me a good amount of money. And I thought, this is it. I am now set. And I wasn't, because then I felt like I needed more. And I've spent my whole life, I am now in my 60s, feeling like anything could happen and I could end up homeless, face down in the street. And I know that that is unlikely at this point.
But what if it did? Where is your wealth?
With my family and my chosen family and my wife.
You will never be without a place to sleep.
That's what my therapist says.
Practically. You will never be without, because you are surrounded by the life you have built. And strangers would come to your assistance if you said, I need assistance.
Oh.
Because that's the world you've built for yourself. It's true. You cannot sink in this life. You, Debbie Millman, cannot sink in this life because you have built a community that will always buoy you.
Well,
always.
I'm going to put that on my T-shirt. Thank you. Thank you. So many thank yous. You said that the final frontier of feminism is finance. Why do you feel that way, and how do we get there?
I think it's the final frontier because we are economically disadvantaged from jump and because we need not to be. And if I knew how to fix it, I would have fixed it. So I put it out there so that collectively we can begin thinking about how we teach all people. I don't even like to be in the feminist space anymore. I'm in the egalitarian space. I want all people, however they identify, to live lives of abundance and dignity. And I think that's possible in this life. And so that's what I'm striving for. And I look to others to help find those solutions. And, you know, that's part of this Creative Mornings investment. When I put money into this place, it's because this is the best possible investment in the future I want. Friends and community building and a safe place for everybody where somebody can type in, I'm creative and I'm lonely, and here's the answer to that.
And that's a real story. That's a real true story. Ruth Ann, my last question for this interview is this. What would be one piece of advice you could offer our audience if they feel ruled or trapped or confined or insecure about money?
Just recognize if you're scared by the concept of money, you're buying into a story that is not necessarily true for you. See if you can come up with a better version of that story for yourself. I believe you can do it.
Ruth Ann Harnisch, thank you so much for making so much work that matters and helping other people make work that matters. And thank you for joining me today on this very, very special live episode of Design Matters for Creative Mornings.
I would like to ask one little favor, and that is if we show up having had an audience in Mali today, in Africa, where there is not a Creative Mornings chapter in that country, it is because yesterday I met a Uber driver whose name is Suleiman, who told me about the richest person who ever lived. And that person lived in Mali in the 1300s. And I discovered a whole new world.
Tell us a little bit more about this.
Well, this person who, I'm going to get the name right.
I love that you bought your bag with you on stage.
Well, yeah, it's got all my stuff in it.
Aretha Franklin used to do that. You're the only other person I know that does that. I think it's the coolest thing ever. I think I'm going to start doing that.
Now I'm having a problem finding Mansa Musa. This is a person who lived and who had so much wealth of every kind of asset that could be gained at the time, from precious metals to the silks and the spices and the slaves and the gold, that this person had. They were, without question, the richest person in history right up till modern times. And I never heard of that until yesterday. And this driver said he was going to tell everyone in Mali to listen to this live stream today.
Oh, hello, everyone in Mali.
And so if Molly is listening, hello, Molly.
Let's all say it together. 1, 2, 3. Hello, Molly. Ruth Ann Harnisch, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everyone. And remember, we can talk about making a difference, we could make a difference, or we can do both. I'm Debbie Millman, and I'd like to thank you for joining me today on this very special live episode of Design Matters at Creative Mornings with Ruth Ann Harnisch.
close out. Wow. Let's do it again. So many feelings so early in the morning. Before I let you go, I want to thank our volunteer team. Without them, these events would never be as smooth as they are. So thank you, Abby, Angelica, Anushka, Brian, Brianna, Ella, Exa, Finn, Kevin, Krista, Kristen, Lena, Leah, Lenny, Meredith, Oriana, Cece, Sue, and Whitney. You're wonderful. And thanks to Nelson, you can see photos of yourself, how good you look. Thanks to Connie, you can watch these talks afterwards. Thanks to Matthew and Kira, you were able to see the live stream, and you can see this right away on YouTube right after. And then Autumn, you are incredible. And as always, I want to leave you with a quote. Today's is from Twyla Tharp. Generosity is luck going in the opposite direction, away from you. If you're generous to someone, if you do something to help him out, you are in effect making him lucky. This is important. It's like inviting yourself into a community of good fortune. Thank you all for being here and joining us today. Go attend a field trip. Go attend a club. Maybe into 2026, start your own club. Make friends around something you love doing. I appreciate you being part of this community, and see you next year.